The Business Line Changemaker of the Year award goes to the Reserve Bank of India under the stewardship of Governor Shaktikanta Das. May we have the presentation of the citation by the editor and the certificate. The trophy just presented by our chief guest.
A recognition of the Reserve Bank's adroit handling of monetary policy and regulations over the last 3 years, and especially since the interest rate cycle turned a year and a half ago. I would like to ask you 2 or 3 questions very quickly. The first is, you will go down in history as the only governor of the Reserve Bank of India who had the job to guide the country and the economy during a calamity that the country faced. Not just the people, even the economy. Now, I would like to understand from you your thought process when you were so hyperactive, superactive, I should say, during the COVID period. The moment COVID was announced, you opened up communication with the markets, with the press very quickly, going in front of the cameras, addressing people. Now, what was your thought process when you went through that difficult period helming the RBI?
Well, good evening, and thank you, Raghuvirji, for asking that question. But before that, I just want to, with the permission of the dignitaries, I would like to say that I am receiving this award on behalf of more than 13,000 employees and officers of the Reserve Bank of India. And during the most turbulent period when we had multiple crises coming one after the other and some of the crises overlapping with each other, I think it was a teamwork at its best in the Reserve Bank of India. So I am receiving this with a sense of deep gratitude, and it's a great honor for us from Reserve Bank of India to receive this award. I would like to thank the members of the jury, the Hindu Business Line, for conferring this award on the Reserve Bank. I would like to also thank the Honorable Minister for being here to give this award. And before I move to a serious reply on the question, I would just like to draw a reference to what the Managing Director Amul said about 2 people being visible on the road in the morning. Now, what was invisible at that time was that they were either carrying cash or their mobile through which they were making digital payments. And I think that is something which, on which Reserve Bank can take a lot of, a great amount of share of that work goes to the Reserve Bank of India. But coming back to your question, when the COVID hit, many reports were coming. I'll just take a couple of minutes. And in fact, before the lockdown was announced by the Honorable Prime Minister, and already we had got reports that this is going to be a kind of a major crisis in, which the world has not seen. We had a lot of reports coming in. So what we had done is that even before the lockdown was announced, we had set up a quarantine facility consisting of, with about 250 of our employees and service providers. We hired a hotel outside in the outskirts of Mumbai. We converted one of our large data centers into a quarantine facility. We hired a bus which was also quarantined, and these members of the staff were put in that quarantine facility, and all money market operations, because the money market operations, whether it is a debt market or the other segments of the money market, they have to function 365 days, 24/7. So we had housed all this facility in a quarantine, all these activities into a quarantine facility, and ensured continuity of the money market operations. And I would like to mention here that this facility continued for more than 1 year, and the senior officers, including myself, we kept on talking to them through the video facility because it was at the beginning of the pandemic, 25th March, I think the Honorable Prime Minister announced the lockdown facility, but 4 or 5 days before that we had set up this quarantine facility. So after 2 or 3 months, when I asked the employees through the media, through the video conference, that I understand that you have problems, we are looking after your family members, don't worry, your family members are our responsibility. So that confidence we had given, but after 3 months when I asked them, how many of you would like to go back to your families, because I understand that you are there for 3 months, so we would like to change. Please take it from me, almost all of them said, sir, we will continue. Now, that is the dedication, that is the kind of dedication, and I must say that throughout this entire period, the entire teamwork in RBI, many of these suggestions came. What was challenging, right at the beginning, we had decided, the top management, when in fact we had to close down our office, myself and the deputy governors and some of the senior officers, we decided that let us not wait for a problem to arise and then respond to it. Let us try and anticipate problems and announce measures. So the first set of measures we announced on 27th of March, and then thereafter, almost every month we were announcing new measures to deal with the emerging challenges. So it was basically, if I can just sum it up, if I can capture it in 3 words, I think it was our endeavor was to be proactive, to be proactive, not wait for the problem to arise, but to, respond, to sort of take measures in advance, to be proactive, to be decisive, and to weigh the risks in full. In fact, somebody was asking me just now, we were encouraging our team members to say that if we are going to take a particular innovative measures, what can be the worst possible consequence out of it? What can be the worst downside of it? Then we were weighing whether the worst consequence of our decision, whether it is something, the worst risks, whether it is something which we can manage or it is something uncontrollable. The moment we were convinced that something is still manageable, even if there was a 20% chance that yes, we will be able to manage the worst possible consequences, then we were decisive and we took that risk and announced that measures. So it was basically our endeavor was to be proactive, endeavor was to be decisive, and endeavor was also to weigh all possible risks before taking decision. And I'm happy to mention that the entire RBI team really rose up to the occasion. The crisis period is not over. We are still having other challenges coming up every day. But to this August gathering, I would like to say that the RBI remains committed to maintain the financial stability of our country, to ensure that the economy also continues to do well. Thank you. Sorry for that long answer.
That's amazing story. And I'm sure every single person here will join me in thanking you from their hearts, you and your staff who put themselves at risk during the COVID period and went away from their families, all in the cause of the nation. They are no less than the armed forces soldiers of this country. Congratulations and thanks.
Thank you.
So the second question I would like to go to is, so you're an ex-bureaucrat, a seasoned person who has held very high positions in government, and now you're the governor of the Reserve Bank of India. How has been the transformation from being a bureaucrat to a central banker? Did having been a bureaucrat help you in understanding the government's thinking, or when a finance ministry official or a ministry said something, to understand where they're coming from? So you had prior intelligence on how the mind works. Was that a help to you?
You see, what matters is an overall understanding of the economy. The government, whether it is the finance ministry or the overall government, their objective is to do something good for the economy, and this is everywhere in the world. And the central banks across the world also have a responsibility to the economy and to the financial sector. Both institutions are working for the people of the country and for the welfare of the country. So there has to be proper coordination, there has to be proper exchange of views between the government and the central bank everywhere. In fact, I have always believed that a good cooperation between the central bank and the government is absolutely essential to ensure that policy measures, whether taken by the government or taken by the central bank, are effective. And I can tell you that there has been excellent coordination and cooperation between the government and the central bank. In fact, there was this thinking in some parts of the world, that government and central banks should, function in watertight compartments. Now there is a growing realization that each of these institutions, they need each other. In the central bank, we need the support of the government to get many legislative changes. Amendments to the Reserve Bank of India Act, giving us additional powers to regulate the cooperative banks, to regulate the NBFC sector. So we need certain additional powers for which we go to the government to get the acts amended. Government also needs the support of the, of the central bank, that is in our case in the Reserve Bank of India, to deal with such, the kind of crisis like we faced in our country, the fallout of COVID, then the fallout of Ukraine war, the inflation and other things. So therefore, what perhaps might have helped me is that I have seen both sides. And while being in government also, I was a member of the Central Board of the Reserve Bank. So it helped me because I had prior knowledge of how the Reserve Bank works, what were its responsibilities. And the fact that I was earlier in government and then had some idea about Reserve Bank's working and then moved to RBI, I think it did help me. Somebody may say that you are trying to keep, both your feet in two separate boats. It's not so. I think the idea is that even if you have your 1 foot here and 1 foot there, in my case, of course, it was not both my feet were in one boat when I went to the Reserve Bank of India. But you must know also where the other, how the other wheel of the system is moving so that there is a coordination. So that is something which might have helped in my case. But it was ultimately, I think, I would give the credit to the teamwork in the Reserve Bank of India, and I say it with all seriousness. There has been fantastic and great contribution of many of my colleagues in the Reserve Bank to what the Reserve Bank as an institution has been able to achieve.
Perfect. Reserve Bank is a standing example of an institution of excellence in this country, if there is one. If I were to ask you 3 important qualities that a central banker should have, what would those be?
I think, I think these are questions which should be asked when one demits office. So, but since you have asked, let me try and reply. I think the first is to have a strong common sense. I think that applies to every responsibility and more so for a central banker. You must have, I feel it is very essential to have that strong common sense and to sort of be able to visualize how, monetary policy measures or how other regulatory or financial sector measures are really going to affect the real, the real economy. I think that is something which, something like the, a strong common sense can give. A strong common sense can confer. I think that is the first requirement. Second, of course, is that I think the capability to sort of keep an open mind, keep your eyes open, ears open, and have the capacity also to smell a crisis. I keep on telling my colleagues in the RBI, it's not just enough that we keep an open mind, listen to everyone, keep our eyes and ears open. I think each of us, it's a challenge, easier said than done. One must try and develop a capacity to smell a crisis before it has, come up. Now, this may sound very esoteric and philosophical, but essentially what I'm trying to say is that there should be capacity to anticipate a potential problem, a potential challenge, and be ready to deal with it. Be ready to, defend the financial sector and the institutions. And the third, it will be a general point. I think teamwork, especially for the leadership of any institution like the Reserve Bank of India, which is spread all over the country, and we have regional offices everywhere. I think, and there is a lot of talent available down the road. I think internally within the organization also, there should be, I feel, active consultation, and decision making should be a kind of a collective process in which, of course, the leader takes the final decision, But I think each decision making should be the outcome of a collective process. So these are the three aspects which I would like to mention. Thank you.
Thank you. One last question. I can't help but ask you this.
Don't ask me about the next monetary policy.
No.
Other than that, you can ask me.
If you notice, I've stayed away from anything that is sensitive. So this question is more, about your style. Every monetary policy statement, we can see that you end with a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. Now, what is the thought process behind that? You effect a 50 basis points hike and then end with a Mahatma Gandhi quote. So what is the thought process behind that?
Now, I'll tell you how it started. When the COVID pandemic, started, lockdown was announced, there was a lot of anxiety among the people. The anxiety was not just in the financial markets, among the major economy, major players in our economy. There was a lot of anxiety among the people. There were a lot of, people were shaken out of their, we just didn't know, people just didn't know, all of us, we just didn't know where all it is going to end, what kind of damage it will cause to us, how the family members and how all of us, how we are going to come out of it and when it will end. So there was that kind of a kind of an anxiety all over the world. It's not something in India, but particularly it's not just in India, but all over the world. So it was necessary to give confidence to the markets and give confidence to the people. And, that is the time when we started making these monetary policy statements on the television, half an hour. Before that, the monetary policy statement was about 15 minutes. But we made it half an hour because there was no other communication, there was no other interaction. And there were just few of us who were attending the office, and through the television, through the YouTube channel of RBI, which many television channels picked up. So it was necessary to give confidence to the markets. It was necessary to give confidence to the people. And we devised some of our own formulations to sort of, if you refer to the earlier policy statements, some statements we devised on our own and they have been accepted. But then, some of us, while we were discussing, we came across some quotations from Mahatma Gandhi, which I recalled, some of my colleagues also recalled. We found that they were very appropriate for that particular occasion. I'm not able to remember exactly the full word, but it was like, when the horizon is dark, when, it is faith that keeps you moving. So things like that we started giving, and after that, and we found that it really worked. And the feedback that we got from the market, from others, is we found that it really worked. So initially it started with a sense to give confidence to the markets, give confidence to the people, and what better than using a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. And it really worked. And since it worked, we have continued with that thereafter. And there are appropriate quotes from Mahatma Gandhi for almost every occasion. And there are quite a few of us in RBI who have, I think, read Mahatma Gandhi to a great extent. So we have some idea about it.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for this session.
Thank you.
My hearty congratulations to you. And thank you once again for helming the country so well at the Reserve Bank of India. Thank you.